Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles Tabansi. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and where we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today we got a pretty interesting show for you guys. But before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. And also, if you want to follow me on Instagram, my name is Charles Tabansi. My handle is CTABANZ. If you want to follow us on our Instagram on Dreamerspro, it's Dreamerspro. And also make sure you check out the Dreamerspro podcast that we have pinned in the comment section below. Anyway, let me get into this topic here. So the NBA season is pretty much underway now. Teams are in training camp. The Lakers are having their training camp. I saw the Sixers having their training camp. The Brooklyn Nets are having their training camp. And of course, the Los Angeles Clippers are also in, they're in training camp right now in Hawaii. Right? Imagine all places to go have your training camp is in Hawaii. What a wonderful place to be, right? Hawaii is amazing, man. Amazing. But anyway, so they're out there in Hawaii doing their thing. And just today, various audios started to come out, right? From players, from coaches. And one of the people that has taught me a lot of basketball, it's funny, one of the people taught me a lot, like as if I know him personally. But one of the people that's taught me a lot about basketball is Tyronn Lue. For the past 2 years, I've watched almost every single Ty Lue post-game interview. And if you want to learn a lot about basketball, listen to Ty Lue. He's a very, very sharp mind, breaking down the game, explaining schemes, game plan. He doesn't go obviously into too much detail. There's a lot more detail that goes into it on the court. But I've learned a lot from him just listening to him talk basketball. So today they were talking to various players. And of course, they were talking to Ty Lue, right? And I was quite surprised because I'm like, okay, we're finally getting to hear some sound bites from these various people. And then I saw something that mentioned something about load management, right? And I was like, this is interesting. Why is this interesting? Because just yesterday, I think it was media day, and various players were talking to the media. And one of those players that was talking to the media was Kawhi Leonard. So while Kawhi Leonard was talking to the media, some reporters began to ask him to weigh in on the new policy that the league has implemented to discourage load management. And to my surprise and the surprise of many people out there, Kawhi Leonard, you could see, got visibly irritated by the question. And while he was answering, he actually started to call out the NBA for trying to make him the face of load management. So what we want to quickly do for the people maybe they didn't hear it, we want to play what Kawhi Leonard had to say here, and then we're going to continue on with the show. Take a listen to that there.
Hi, good morning, Kawhi. Kelly Johnson with Fox 11. Would love to hear your thoughts on the new NBA player participation policy.
What are they?
Just, I know that you've gotten a lot of flack for, load management and just, only resting certain players, in certain situations. So just would love to hear your thoughts on that.
I just don't know the policy. What is the policy, though?
Okay, I'm going to ask you a different question if that's okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. No, it's totally okay. Just would love to know how you're feeling and if you did anything differently in the off season that maybe you hadn't tried in previous off seasons.
You try different stuff every year. Every year is a new journey. So every day. So you do new things, but you gotta, just keep going. There's nothing new that happens. You're either going to get hurt or you're just going to be lucky enough to, play games throughout the playoffs or the whole regular season. So, with that being said, if you're not injured, people play basketball. So nobody isn't just trying to get to a certain amount of games or. At least me, I'm not trying to get to a certain amount of games. I'm trying to play the games that I could play. And if I'm hurt, I can't play basketball. So the last 2 years been unfortunately for me. I got hurt, tore my ACL. Then at the end of the year, tore my meniscus. And it's basketball. I'm a two-way player. Play hard, so the injuries are going to come up. I'm not out there just walking around. I play both ends of the floor. I see the best players on both ends every night. Either I'm guarding the best player or the best player is guarding me. So whatever happens with that happens. Yeah, if injury comes, that's what happens in the NBA.
Thank you. Beth?
Kawhi, in regards to the league policy, I think the gist of it is that they want their top 50 stars out on the floor every night if possible. And given that, I'm just wondering if you feel an obligation to play every game.
No, I mean, I'm not a guy that's sitting down because doing a load management. Like, when I was with the Raptors, it was different. Like, I was coming from an injury, and you have to know the details of a doctor. But if the league is seeing or trying to mock what I did with the Raptors, then they should stop because I was injured during that whole year. But other than that, if I'm able to play, I'll play basketball. I work out every day in the summertime to play the game, not to sit and watch people play. No. So no league policy is helping me to play more games.
If USA Basketball asks you, would you play in the Paris Olympics?
Yeah, I wanted to play this summer, but I had other obligations and I had to leave early, so I wasn't able to go. So we'll see what happens.
So you heard what Kawhi Leonard had to say. You could hear that Kawhi was very, very upset at the question. And to me, I was surprised because this is someone that rarely speaks. So to hear Kawhi Leonard come out there and essentially call out these guys, you could tell that he was very, very, serious about it. So today I was listening to this interviews. I mean, the coaches talking. And to my surprise, this same question came up about load management and the new policy because the Clippers are one of the teams that do it. They're not the only team, but they're one of the teams that do it, especially with players like Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. And to my surprise, Ty Lue ended up taking a very, very strong position against the idea of this particular group load managing at any point this season. So what we want to want to quickly play what Ty Lue had to say. Is about less than a 20-second clip, and then we're going to come back and continue with the show. Take a listen to what Ty Lue had to say there.
Talking about physicality and some of the new load management rules. I don't know the best way to describe it, but just talking about that, how much of that was and how this preseason will go.
It was a factor in much for me. Like we coming to work, and so our guys understand that. Our guys are ready to work. Everyone's healthy, so there's no load management here, so we're ready to go.
So you heard what Ty Lue had to say. Here are my thoughts. Here are my thoughts on this. First of all, I like the fact that Ty Lue is saying this publicly. If you listen very carefully, he said, all of our players are healthy. Pay attention to that part. All of our players are healthy. Therefore, if you're healthy, you're going to play. There's no more of this, oh, well, you're healthy, but we want to rest you. He's like, no, that's nonsense. If you're healthy, you're playing. If you're injured, you're not playing. Plain and simple. They're not making it ambiguous any further. And to me, I like that. I like that, number one. Number two, I also appreciate the comments that Commissioner Adam Silver made when he came out there to address this issue for the first time he did. Why? Because for the past 2 years now, a lot of people have been hiding behind this notion that the reason why load management is important is because it is supported by the science. It is actually supported by the science. So a lot of people have made a lot of money in the NBA promoting load management as a way of doing things because it was supposedly supposed to be a preventative measure, when in reality it wasn't preventing a damn thing. Why? Because there were still so many players that would still load manage and still end up getting injured. For example, players like Paul George, who was load managed all throughout last season, and towards about a month or so to go in the season, he has a freak injury, which proved that load management solved absolutely Nathan. Nada, nothing, zilch, zero. So I was happy that the commissioner said something about that because to me, I thought it was important. Now, I have noticed there's some people out there that are still producing NBA content like, no, you don't understand, son. You don't understand. You don't understand the importance of load management, blah, 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 blah. Well, if you have the commissioner of the league saying that it doesn't work, maybe you need to heed his words. Maybe you didn't hear what he had to say. Maybe what we need to do is play a little bit of what Adam Silver had to say about load management. Take a listen to what Adam Silver had to say here.
it's a shared view by everyone in the league. It's not just coming from the league office. I think whether it's our teams, our players association, individual players, I think there's an acknowledgement across the league that we need to return to that principle, that this is an 82-game league. And that, of course, doesn't mean that we're turning the clock back, that players are expected to play through injuries, or that players, frankly, never need rest. But I think there's a statement of a principle that if you're a healthy player in this league, that the expectation is that you're going to play. In terms of how long we've been working on it, I'd say with a more serious focus, roughly in the last year, it became part of collective bargaining. I should say the player participation policy is part of many steps we've taken, whether it's in the bargaining agreement itself, the 65-game limit for eligibility for awards, creating different incentives for players, like the play-in tournament, for example, like the in-season tournament to focus attention on the regular season. But the policy itself, I think it was the Players Association was very much part of it. We had extensive discussions with them, and then with individual groups of players, particularly veterans in the league, about how they thought we should be approaching it. And the last part of your question, yes, I do worry about infringing on how a team operates. And while we want to state a strong principle, I would say, at least initially, we're taking a somewhat light touch here. I think under the notion that change will probably happen here incrementally. I think we'll state this principle, see how teams react, and see if more needs to be done. But I think most importantly, there's a sense from all the different constituent groups in the league that this is ultimately about the fans, and that we've taken this too far. I mean, this is an acknowledgement that it's gotten away from us a bit. Honestly, that's what I had been told as well, that it was the science. And I think it may be why the league didn't become involved maybe as deeply as we should have earlier on. And part of the discussion today was about the science. And frankly, the science is inconclusive. I think and I've said this before, if the science were clearer that players should be resting, we would be favoring it. And frankly, I would be delivering the message to the fans even that you want these players to rest at certain times because that's going to keep them healthier and performing at a higher level and ensuring that they're on the floor at critical times in the season. What we talked about today is that the correlation, putting aside causation, isn't there even with players who participate in summer competitions like World Cups and Olympics. They are not more likely to get injured in that season. We don't see any statistical data suggesting that players increase their likelihood of getting injured as they go further along in the season, or even in back-to-backs, which may surprise people. Part of the commitment here from the league office is we are putting together a group of team doctors and scientists and others and trying to better understand it. One thing I want to make clear, that the message to our teams and players is not that rest is never appropriate. And I realize there's a bit of an art to this, not just the science, and that's with the hands-on trainers and coaches who are talking to players and saying, how do you feel? I'm certainly not saying that's not relevant. I think, at least in the first instance, in terms of this policy, we're trying to deal with some of the most egregious examples where multiple star players, for example, healthy, all out on the same night, healthy. And I think we're letting down the fans, we're letting down our partners by doing that. But at the same time, we're stating a principle in terms of an 82-game league and saying, let's all work together. And I think that was, I thought, the best news coming out of this policy, whether it was with the Players Association, individual players, or with our teams over the last 2 days. Everyone is acknowledging this is an issue.
So you heard it for yourself. To me, I think this is a very good step. I am still very skeptical about the Clippers because they're notorious for doing this. Were they the ones that invented this? No, it was Greg Popovich and those guys. Who Kawhi Leonard used to be a student in that program, who used to be a player for Greg Popovich. So he kind of took it and ran with it. So to me, I hope to see a change. I hope to see players across the NBA. If you're healthy and you're not injured, you should be playing basketball. If you can't play basketball and the 82 game season is too rigorous for you, then we need to come up with another solution about looking at ways to reduce the games, which will never happen because no one wants to reduce the money. So therefore, if you're healthy, play the games. Respect the fans, respect their money because they're paying for you to go, paying to come see you guys play, and they're watching these games, and people are making a whole bunch of money off of the back of the fans. And I think it's time that we now start respecting the fans. So to me, I think it's a very good thing for Ty Lue to say publicly. I like the fact that Kawhi Leonard seemed to be irritated about that question because maybe he's going to take things personally. And this year, I hope to see a change in his team. Obviously, we have to wait and see. There are a lot of good teams out there in the Western Conference, but I think the Clippers have an opportunity to be one of them. So what I want to know from you guys is simply this: what do you think about what Ty Lue had to say? And honestly, what's your opinion on how realistic do you think that the Clippers are going to take this season serious and not load manage? Whatever you guys think, leave your thoughts in the comments, and we catch you on the next show. Peace.